Opendorse, we have discussed them. We have had members of their administration on the show. Sam Weber is one of them, and he joins us again, Senior Director of Brand Marketing for Opendorse, NIL, and much more on SicEm 365 Radio. Sam, thank you for jumping on with us today. Has the NIL, and I know it's more than that, but has NIL exploded even more than you possibly could have dreamed?
That's a great question. I think it's exploded in ways that were unexpected. Whether or not the market is bigger than we originally anticipated, I don't know that we were too far off in that. Frankly, we're looking at something that's going to be close to $1 billion to student athletes in year one. It's only going to grow. But I think areas that have exploded that maybe we didn't anticipate are things like athletes giving back to charities and causes that they care about, really helping their communities, helping their fellow student athletes. It's been really cool and impressive to watch the maturity of these young men and women as this has become a reality for them.
Sam, how do you kind of rope in the effectiveness for a company, whether it's, because these weren't supposed to be recruiting inducements, and now it seems like they kind of are in a lot of respects for guys coming into schools. For if they invest in an athlete, how do you coach an athlete up to make sure that they get to keep that investment through their 4 years, 5 years in college and not get it and lose it?
Sure. So you're asking how can the athletes best perform their side of the agreement?
Yes.
Sure. I think so. A lot of athletes are seeking outside support, whether that's from a company like Opendorse or from a more traditional avenue like an agent or even some of these NIL collectives that are popping up. They're helping to support athletes to make sure that their end of the agreement is filled to the T. And that's the best way really to market yourself ongoing as an athlete. If say local brands and businesses know that you're good on your end of the deal, that you're going to go above and beyond, then that word's going to spread. You're going to get more offers and you're going to find more success.
What has been maybe one of those most surprising aspects of seeing these NIL deals come together? Is there maybe a certain aspect of business that's been involved that you didn't expect, or the number of sports involved? Like what's been one of the more surprising things?
Sure. I think something that you're seeing a lot more about in media in the last 1, 2, 3 weeks is the rise of these NIL collective groups.
Yeah.
Essentially, these groups of donors and program supporters that are working together to build a more sophisticated way to deliver opportunities to a school student athletes. I think it goes without saying that there's going to be a collective at every Power 5 school in the country by the end of the year. And I would maybe be surprised if there isn't one at every Division I school, regardless of conference, by 2023. These have just become an incredibly efficient way for supporters to support their favorite athletes, their favorite teams. And it's going to be very difficult to compete in the recruiting landscape without one at your school.
Sam, I asked you about has it gone, maybe exploded more than you thought. And I guess another question would be, you see the money being thrown around, or you at least hear the numbers, and we don't know how many of those are real, but it does appear to be some pretty staggering numbers. Has that in any way surprised you?
I would say the totality of the numbers has not. We knew there was a huge appetite, and it's only going to grow, right, as the market matures. There's brands, businesses, supporters, they're still learning how they can actually go out and build a deal, what they can do, how much it costs, where they go to do it. There's a big learning curve. I think the quantity of deals is fascinating to me. You're seeing athletes across non-revenue generating sports, they have opportunities. You're seeing athletes at NAIA schools, D3 and D2 schools. They have opportunities. There's really been a groundswell of support as this market has kind of gained some traction and some understanding, and that's only going to grow.
Sam Weber, Opendorse, Senior Director of Brand Marketing on 365 Sports.
You mentioned the getting involved in charities thing. How much is that not only kind of help this thing grow so that maybe companies that would not normally be involved in NIL can get in?
Sure, it's played a huge role from the athlete's perspective. It's a genius PR move and a genius way to market yourself. If you're talking to charities, if you're a quarterback at a Division I school that's likely in a place where they can earn significant NIL compensation, if you put out there that X% of your earnings are going to go to support a charity or a cause that you care about, that's that's a siren or a light to the rest of the local businesses that, hey, this is a kid that their beliefs align with ours, that we can support, that will then support our community or a cause that our business aligns with. It's really been impressive to see, and I think you'll see more and more student athletes going in that direction.
What are the agreements, Sam? And I've always been kind of intrigued by this. In that name and player team doesn't matter, but they get an endorsement. They get an NIL agreement. And they're there, for example, Quinn Ewers was at Ohio State, never played. He got NIL. And now he's at Texas and he's got NIL. Are there any type of contracts or agreements about what, and Paul kind of brought this up, the productivity, but is there any kind of agreement that they have to give some of that back if it doesn't work out?
I do not believe so, no. If it's directly tied to them stepping foot on the field for any school, then that crosses the line of pay for play and recruiting inducements. Of course, a brand could say once that athlete steps on campus, they can offer them a deal. But as far as any contract being executed before an athlete is at a school, so while they're a recruit or while they're in the transfer portal, if it can be deemed as a recruiting inducement, that's impermissible right now.
How much have you seen an imbalance, if any, based on where certain student athletes are coming from state-wise? Because obviously different states have different rules. Have you seen a noticeable advantage for states that maybe have a more wide open or no policy in effect versus those like the Texases, the Floridas, who maybe have what's considered maybe one of the more stringent?
Sure. It's becoming a hot topic. You're seeing states like Florida working to amend their current NIL legislation because of what you just said. It's more restrictive. It makes it more difficult for the school to provide the support that would really help the athlete. And then in states like Ohio that has looser restrictions, they're able to create a program, I believe theirs is called the NIL Edge, where their internal team can actually help these athletes pursue deals, fulfill opportunities, really providing support that is pretty important, especially as this market really it's brand new for everyone and the athlete can use all the help they can get.
Have you seen coaches embrace this? I know they can't directly be involved, but as far as directing an athlete into the market or helping them, guide them, have you seen them do that?
Sure. From July 1 to today, there's been a big shift in tone from coaches across the country. I think there was a lot of skepticism, a lot of concern early on. What's this going to do to my locker room? What's this going to do to, keep boosters and bad actors away from my kids? Ultimately, now you're seeing if coaches that don't embrace this are going to be left behind. They need to be providing by what's allowed, they need to be providing the marketing and education and compliance support and be able to prove that to recruit at a competitive level in this landscape. And I think 99% of coaches, that's obviously an arbitrary number, but they are supportive of what's happening with NIL, the financial freedom that it can bring these student athletes and their families. Otherwise, frankly, they'll be dinosaurs.
Have you seen, and there have been some examples and people have kind of thought about it, but you mentioned about a recruiting or an inducement to come to the school. There have been some of those that have happened. I don't know, they all have to be legal because nothing's been done about it. But have you seen a couple that have gone right over that line a little bit, Sam? When it comes to, here's what we have, you come here and play for us and we give you X amount of money.
Sure. There have been a few that have been, I'm not going to name any. There have been a few that have been questionable in the wording that they've been put out there. There are ways that that brands or supporters can basically state their plans without directly offering an individual, that makes it a little bit more above board, if you will. But yeah, there have been some cautionary tales, I would say, from the early days, but I'm not going to get into those.
Okay. Sam Weber, again, Senior Director of Brand Marketing for Opendorse on NIL and much more. And sometimes we take for granted in our audience, how did this all start with Opendorse? What was the reason behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. Our founders played football at the University of Nebraska about 10 years ago. When they were getting out of school, started a marketing agency, and one of their best friends, Prince Amukamara, was drafted in the first round by the New York Giants. Prince, basically overnight, he went from, no brand interest to playing in the largest media market in the world. His social media followers skyrocketed. He had brands, from local Lincoln businesses to large national advertisers like Adidas knocking on his door saying like, hey, let's do a deal. Let's complete a deal. And Prince needed help. He didn't know what to post on social media and when. He didn't know what deal to accept. What deals to ignore. And ultimately, when it came to fulfilling a deal, he was just a busy man as an NFL rookie, as many are. So we built a software to make it incredibly easy for him. So he would receive deal offers to his phone. He could review the deal. His agent could review the deal. If they wanted to take it, they press accept, a big green button, and then fulfill the terms of that contract. Once it's done, he gets paid right through his Opendorse app, and they go from there. Really, the foundation that existed back in 2013, 2012, it still exists today. It's just it's had 10 years of technology development and learning from there. So we've been really fortunate to play in this NIL space and really build the best possible tools for student athletes and supporters to succeed together today.
Sam, I was born at Offutt Air Force Base. My father, military. And I want you guys to start helping Nebraska a little bit more than you. They need some help. You know that, right? I was talking to Blake Lawrence about that. They need some help. Go find another 10 Prince of Makamuras if you can. I'm kidding, but I'm not. But
hey, I'm born and bred Nebraskan as well. We would take a few more princes any day.
Someone asked in the chat room, Daniel, do you foresee any federal legislation coming for NIL?
I think the short answer is not in the near term. Expecting NIL legislation to be a priority or something that Congress and the Senate can agree on in the near term feels unlikely. That's not to say it could never happen, no.
One more question, if you don't mind, from Joe. Is there any limit on the amounts, i.e. individual athletes can receive regarding NIL?
There's not. There could be amounts that raise red flags, of course. Mm-hmm. But basically, because there is no overarching NCAA or federal legislation policy, there's no way to govern what a fair market rate might be today. So ultimately, a fair market rate is what somebody's willing to pay you.
Yeah.
That really opens the door for all levels of compensation.
When you guys started this company 10 years ago and where it is now and what the NCAA allows now, or what they basically just were overrun, is amazing. Sometimes, you know what? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You guys, I'm not saying you're lucky, but my goodness, it seems like it's rolling for you. Congratulations.
You said it best. I appreciate it. It's been a fun ride, and it's going to get even better.
Thank you, Sam. Great stuff. Sam Weber, Opendorse Senior Director of Brand Marketing. I was told by Jerry Gumber back many, many years ago, I did a story, and it was awarded some things, honored with some things back in 1988. And I said, I got lucky with it because it was tugging the heartstrings and all that. And Odell Beckham Sr. was a part of it. And he said, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And he didn't invent that. Somebody else like Shakespeare did. I don't know. But 10 years ago, they came up with that for Prince of Makamura, and think about how the mother lode has shifted in the last 12 months. It's incredible.
It was the Roman philosopher Seneca.
There you go. Played quarterback at Iowa State.
Yeah, it's cool software. I mean, it looks like a really easy, nice looking setup that they have for the technology that they use, and seems like it's pretty simple for the athlete to be able to get on their app or whatever and get it all done. And Yeah, I mean, cool to get their perspective on it. I mean, they're raking in money with all these deals. I mean, not them in particular, but they are eventually getting some of it by using the Opendorse software and platform. But yeah, I mean, they were right place, right time, and right ideas before it all hit the fan, so to speak. And they're definitely one of the benefactors of it. The athletes more so than anybody. But yeah, it's been interesting to see how this has all developed over the last year. And there were those who said the game was going to die, and I don't know. It seems about the same as it always was, quite frankly. It's just more cheating on the surface than there was initially, and that's really the biggest difference. I'm sure if you were on the ground with the athletes, you might notice that the volleyball player suddenly has a way nicer car than she would have otherwise. Yep. But I mean, outside of that, everything seems to be pretty much the same. And look, there were a lot of athletes driving super nice cars they couldn't afford to begin with anyways over on various campuses. So that's not even that different. Now it's just more, on the up and up, if anything.
Yeah, you don't even blink now.
Look, now
they at least earned it, And
now it's worth it for the people giving them the car too, because they can get something out of it.
Yep. Before you had it here's a car.
Yeah, or they could make it legal where I'm going to lease Craig Smoak, my incoming quarterback, a car. I'm going to lease it because I own the dealership, Paul Catalina Super Seminole Motor Company. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to lease him the car for $5 a month. I can do that. It's a lease. Yeah. It's legal. Now, if Emory comes to me and says, I heard Craig got a $5 lease, I'd be like, yeah, Craig's the quarterback of the team. You're just Emory. You can, pay $400 a month like everybody else on this lease. So that stuff can be over now, and it can be mutually beneficial for both parties.
The biggest example and the easiest one is this Big Red Motors with Adrian Peterson and Rhett Bomar. They were pretending to have jobs as Oklahoma football players. They were not actually performing at all. They were not real employees, but they were paid like they were employees, and there's this whole charade. And, Adrian Peterson was leasing cars from this place, and I doubt he was paying probably very much on them. I don't know. And, now they would just have Adrian Peterson and Rhett Bomar on their commercials, and it would all be free and clear and no question about it.
Rattler.
Yeah, and Rhett Bomar never would have been booted off of OU's football team and went on the journey that he went on to Sam Houston and the NFL for a bite. And, I don't know, Adrian Peterson's journey probably would have been pretty much the same, quite frankly, except for he would have made way more money. And that would certainly be helping him these days, if he had made the money that he could have in college. And then again, maybe that would all be gone too. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, that's all it really is we don't have to pretend like Big Red Motors is really paying Rhett Bomar and Adrian Peterson to, wash cars and get them on the lot. And now they're just do a commercial, get your pay, or not even do a commercial. Just say you're a spokesperson and get your pay and play for Oklahoma. And that's all it is, really.
No, you're right. And now you wonder about if you were to have, Paul, the top 5 businesses, like what professions would be the lead the way when it comes to money. And now, because you have all these, what did he call them, these collectives or whatever they're doing. Yeah. But it used to be car dealerships, I would think. Mm-hmm. I would think maybe law firms, because you could have somebody as an intern. Boy,
Miami or in the 80s could have really done some big law firm commercials.
Back you couldn't do restaurants would, but now you can. But it's top 5 professions who now would lead the way. Because right now you could be somebody who's you could be a real estate guy.
Well, I mean, the real estate wouldn't be a bad one. Look, if I was a big, gigantic real estate firm, especially commercial real estate or something like that, I'm in.
I don't think you have to be big,
but I mean, or enough to where you make it worth your while to have an endorser. But if I was in Norman and I was the big realtor in Norman, why would I not say which
is Bob Stoops? No, she's Mary Kay, right?
But but if I was that, I'd be like, why would I not have now Dylan Gabriel come out and be like, hey, listen, my home was found by these guys. It makes sense because you're not going. The other thing about some of these places, why it makes it worthwhile is if you want, that kind of good celebrity endorsement dollar to go kind of far. If you're, Joe Smith Realty in Norman, Oklahoma, you're not getting Emmitt Smith or something like that. You're not getting a current big name. But if you got it
can make a difference in helping you. If you got a guy that's a Heisman Trophy winner or someone like that who has a big year, like what Spencer Rattler, do you think he helped that dealership much?
In the long run this year, no.
No.
In fact, why would he have?
Some people may have turned on him. West Virginia would be in trouble, according to Joey, with NIL if it wasn't for Oliver Luck and the owner of the Diamondbacks, who is a West Virginia alum. They came up with a great platform for West Virginia players.
Yeah, I mean, they I guess, the school's not really supposed to help facilitate that, right?
Right.
So why is Oliver? That's the first thing that jumps out to me is why is he? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the school's not supposed to be involved.
Is he still their athletic director?
I don't think he is.
No.
So maybe no. That's right.
No,
Yeah, because he went off to
well,
Vince and that.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm getting backwards.
He's been involved in these leagues. He's been.
I know. Just getting my times confused. But yeah, I mean, these collectives have been the big things now. I mean, and if, like you said, if your school doesn't have one, they're going to have one soon enough. I know Tech just announced whatever their Hearts for Home, Horns 50,000 for linemen, type of deal is going to be. And I think Baylor, launched something, and this school's launched. I mean, they're all launching something. So you're almost, if you don't have one, you're on the outside looking in at this point, and you're going to have one to be able to compete. And even still, I'm sure that by the time everybody gets one, then some other big school will already have found their new way of bending the system, because that's just what college athletics does. There will be somebody else to find some loophole that exploits it even more that they can use to their advantage, and then everybody follows suit, and then somebody finds another loop. You know what I'm saying? And that's just... It's keeping up with the Joneses, and if you want to do that right now, you got to have a collective and be ready to march on NIL, and if not, then, you could suffer from it in recruiting and on the field.
I was surprised when we had Mac and we got a break because we're well behind in this first hour, but thanks to Mr. Weber for coming on from Opendorse to kind of set things up for us, and it's been a lot of questions. I thought it was time. Is when Mac said he had over, 300? Or so, whatever it was, as far as NIL agreements. I know Sikkim365.com in the premium section, there's a Sikkim365.com plus that is about premium membership plus. We have done things with Jaron McVay, with Al Walcott. There are some NIL things that are a part of that. So it's out there. And if, like you said, if you want to turn your head, then you're going to be behind very, very rapidly. All right, we'll come back.
Hold on. Tim said, make all players be at the school for at least a year before they can collect any NIL money, and he basically shut that down, right? I mean, he said there's no.
It's not. It has nothing to do with the school, really.
Yeah, it's not school involved. It's the player and it's the business, and then maybe Opendorse in between, or whoever else is involved. But yeah, the school can't really enforce anything like that. So Tim, I mean, it's a nice idea. You'd like it if. Or Ohio State, and you at least have Quinn Ewers on campus for a full year before he bolts, but yeah, not legal. I'm about to sneeze. So, but yeah, they just can't enforce that, basically, Tim. But that's part of the risk that you take when you sign these deals to begin with. There's a possibility that they might not net or might not result in you gaining any money. In fact, you might lose money, and that's the case for whoever signed up Quinn Ewers for sure.
Like anything else with an endorsement. By the way, when we